Okay, cool. In this video then, we'll look at CircusExperience, which is one of the pieces you also mentioned in your email. So let's get stuck straight in. We're going to find a lot of similarities, actually, between this and Funkometer. In terms of kind of stylistic guitar playing. So let's crack on. So CircusExperience is a classic rock. Classic rock. Yeah, I'd say so. 68 beats per minute in E minor. So E minor is kind of the primary key. We've got a little bit of modulation going on, but most of the time we're sticking to the E minor kind of side of things. The important part, again, you'll read out to your student here, is the technical features. So one of the most fundamental guitar techniques and systems which will help you in just forever on the guitar indefinitely is triads, and they are used mostly here. So triads are obviously a great way to gain. They're brilliant in every single way. A couple of ways that I use them. So I use them for kind of mapping out where I am in the guitar. You know, if I'm playing in the key of G, for instance, I'm going to solo in the key of G major. If I can find out where my triads are on the G, B, and D strings there, you know, straight away you've kind of shown yourself where those three G hotspots are, so you can then solo around them. So they're really useful for that sort of idea of like mapping out the guitar neck for you. Also, in terms of actually coming up with good ideas, you know, so you're not just playing big lumpy chords. Which might be a bit too intense for like a verse. You could come up with triads instead. Much better if you want to kind of have a bit of a take it easy kind of sound. Hammer-ons, which are just there, and pull-offs. So some very basic techniques, but obviously not to be overlooked. We really want a stylistically appropriate, and I know this is obviously very raw and real, this kind of Hendrixy style music, but we also want a very clinical sound as well. So we'll talk about that as we go along. Quickly read the overview then. So CircusExperience is a track written in the style of the late great blues and classic rock guitarist Jimi Hendrix. This individual piece focuses on Hendrix's bluesy ballad style of playing, heard on songs such as the melodic, almost hypnotic Little Wing. As opposed to the driving rock of Purple Haze, the main feature of this style is the embellishment of chords. Hendrix would often add a lick before running into a chord, or play a hammer-on pull-off phrase to change notes within a chord shape. So stuff like this. Like an E major thing there. Very much like that B section from Funkometer, looking to embellish around these ideas, these chord shapes, sorry. Style focus, so this track features a simple chord sequence heavily embellished with a number of devices that are characteristic of Hendrix's influential guitar playing. You will encounter broken chords, which refers to the point where the notes in a chord are picked after one another rather than all at the same time. Sorry, I can't read today. So just stuff like this. Versus like that, you know. So it gives you a good idea there. There is also a great deal of legato playing here, which with many short hammer-on and pull-off phrases used to punctuate the changes between chords. In addition, there are double stops that are sometimes preceded by a fast grace note hammer-on or pull-off. Another major feature of Hendrix's playing is his use of triads, simple three-note chords that can be played all over the neck, like I just mentioned at the beginning there. You will encounter these at various points throughout CircusExperience. Yeah, so a lot of legato as well, short hammer-on and pull-off runs, really. Here, you just in that second version there, you just get a bit more of a fluid sound. No pick attack now. So we want that we want to encourage that sound. We encourage that smooth hammer-on and pull-off thing. With hammer-ons and pull-offs, of course, the idea really is that you want to be able to completely have your picking and your hammer-on and pull-off ideas all at the same volume, because your actual fingers will then give you the difference between those. So you don't want to try and make them too different from picking. Sorry. Versus, if you try and get your hammer-ons and pull-offs and you're picking all at the same dynamic, like I said, you'll get a very actually kind of opposite what you think, a very dynamic sound. Double stops, yep. So we've got all these sorts of things. So we will be encouraging those sorts of things as well. So let's just get stuck straight in and we'll kind of break these things down as we go along. You've got to start with then, you've got this very Hendrixy thing. Give me a second, let's have a quick, yeah. I've got lost my sense of rhythm there. Like that. So quite a simple idea to start with. So you really want to encourage them to tell the difference between the two things they're asking here. They've got the 3 7s here, this D triad, without a kind of a picking, a pick through it, like a raking sweep through it. So they obviously want you to kind of attack this one a bit more. So make sure you get them to really play differently. Versus really make that stand out. You want to be able to hear that difference there. The fact this song's quite slow in tempo gives you a chance to really delve into the world of sixteenths again. 1E and 2 and 3, 4 and a 1E and 2 and 3, 4 and a 1E and 2 and 3, 4E and a 1, da-da-da-da, and 4E and a. So you can really break down those 16th notes and get a cool and a good way to practice these fast rhythms. Careful here. I've just noticed in bar 2. Making sure you're going 5-7 picked, then sliding from 7 to 9. Like that. Picking up all these techniques is very important here. And get your student to play these triads with their first finger barred. So your third finger can do the sliding. Sorry. Like that. So that bar's 3 and 4 again. Yeah. And then you've got sorry. So yeah, it's important to hear this track first. As you can tell, I've only listened to it a couple of times before I start playing it. So this is obviously something that I would do with my student. Get them to listen to it beforehand, a couple of times in the days running up to the lesson where we start to look at it. So you can really get them to understand and feel these, because a lot of these licks are going to obviously look quite confusing on paper. But when you hear them play, you're like, oh, it's just Hendrixy style, isn't it? It's just Hendrixy style kind of guitar licks and chords. But when you write anything that's quite loose like this down, you're going to get a bit of a confusing looking tab. So it's important to use a bit of your ear and a bit of the tab here. When you look at like Geek, for instance, it's all very robust, isn't it? You know, it's very self-explanatory where you're meant to be and at what time, whereas this could be a bit confusing, but it's actually easier then when you then hear it. So have a good listen first before you start to play it with your student, and it will both give you the peace of mind that you know when you see a confusing lick, oh, I remember this one, I know how it sounds, just check the tab to clear, oh, it was this 16th there versus that one. You know, you can kind of correct mistakes using the tab, if you see what I'm saying. Yeah. Like that, in that bar number 5 there. And then you've got these parts here. So with these parts here, bars 6 onwards, I'm just kind of adopting a bit of an A minor 7 shape, and you want to encourage your students to look at the tab above there, and because the chord names that are given here will really help them to understand what shape chord they could actually jump into, because otherwise these might not make much sense. These, you know, 0, then 2 and 0, then 1 and... So these are very bizarre things to play. If you play them all with one finger, it looks a bit weird. As soon as you think of it as A minor 7, C, and E minor, it makes much more sense. So you want to make sure, yeah, you're using your chord shapes there. And in terms of actual fingerings now, I'm using my middle finger and my first finger in this A minor 7 chord. Then I'm doing middle finger, third finger to play those root notes there. Then still got my first finger on those that top C note with the E accompanying the open string. Is my third middle. And here you can go a bit more just one finger, because you haven't really got any sort of let ring instructions or any chord shape it looks like you've got to deal with. Excuse me. Let ring, obviously important. You want your students to understand what that means. They will always naturally play this without letting it ring, because obviously the idea is that you play whatever's written. So you wouldn't assume this 0 here and this 2 and 0 will carry on through the next part of the chord, because that's what you're not meant to do. But if you've got let ring in there, of course, it makes it all right, so you can do that. So make sure they're aware of where let ring starts and where it finishes. It's very important to understand that it finishes here, because you're doing a bass note ascension. Completely gone here, back. Now notice here as well, this time there isn't a C note that accompanies that top of that chord. So first time, second time over here in bar number 8, sorry. Make sure they do that, because this is the sort of thing the examiner will look for. Yeah, and then this part here, right? You've got bum, ba-na, ba-na, blah-da. Oh. Make sure they've got this down as well. Now, Now, when you read that, it's obviously going to look, that looks very confusing. You've got small notes, you've got slides, you've got hammer-on direction, you've got a slide into direction. So again, this is a good one to listen to really pick up that idea. And also make them aware of what they're doing as well, and where they're playing. You know, we're kind of in E minor, sort of position 3 and position 4. This kind of like awkward sort of crossover here, where we're kind of starting on the 7th fret, going 5 on the G, on the D, sorry, up to the 7, slide into 9, carry on in position 4. So make them aware that's where they are. They're kind of starting in position 3 pentatonic, position 3 pentatonic, going into position 4 pentatonic, like that. So, you know, if you give them the idea of where they are on the guitar, it also means that if they ever get lost, they can play something that using the scale knowledge that will make melodic sense, you know. Rather than going freezing because they haven't got an idea of where they could go if they maybe forget where they are. So, just a small point there. But bar number 9, then we get another kind of chordal thing. So this is very, very chordal. So in this bar number 10, let all that ring and blend together. You're really on that blend there. Just a C major shape, and you're just moving your middle finger when you get to that hammer on. And then this part here, I'm just going, when I play those 2 open strings, I'm just moving my middle finger off, keeping my fingers where they are, except my middle finger, so just my 3rd finger stays here. Sorry. And then middle finger to start this E minor chord off. It's a little bit tricky, that is, and so you might want to take a second to get your fingers around that. Moving on, we've then got this section here, which is a kind of like a reprise of our intro. Very Hendrixy thing here. Sorry. These sort of hammer-ons before chords, as mentioned above here. When you go and look at this section, when you've got often add a lick before running into a chord, or play a hammer-on pull-off phrase to change notes within a chord shape. This is what that's referring to. These little E minor ideas. You're getting, but with like a hammer-on note beforehand. Just very scalic, all this stuff, isn't it? You know, you can go around all the different scale shapes and find these little ideas, and just make them up using just scale shapes, and you will get good results, because that's what this is all built on. So there's no shame in adhering to scale shapes here, or thinking, oh, am I relying on my shapes a bit too much? No, I think it's good to have a fair element of that in there. So up until this point, then, a lot of sort of random guitar playing, which, like I said, when you see it written down, it looks quite confusing. But when you actually play it, it's just not as bad. It's not as bad as it looks. Basically, I think when you listen to Geek, for instance, I'm just comparing that because it's very robust. It sounds harder than when it's written down. When you see this one, it looks harder than it actually is played when you see it written down. So make your student aware that it's all right to listen to these tracks too. You want a healthy dose of listening beforehand, and a healthy dose of reading the tab and understanding the rhythms and theories and all the chord shapes and notation ideas and directions and signposting, whatever. These are all important things, so make sure they're aware to use their knowledge of both, and don't rely exclusively on one or the other. Section B then is our guitar solo. So very interesting here. We've got lots and lots of stuff we can do. We're basically soloing it over B minor. There's a B flat minor there, but we're going to ignore that for a second. B minor, A minor, and E minor. The reason I'm ignoring that B flat minor because it's a passing chord on beat number 4 of the first bar of the solo, and it's a bit, you know, you need to worry about playing that change. You know, I'm surprised it's even been written, to be honest. There's nothing you're going to be able to do there, really, at this level of guitar soloing to emphasise that B flat minor, unless you went, for instance. But I mean, you could do that. I mean, they might get you some marks, but I don't think they're looking for you to exclusively go, oh, B flat minor, what can I do in B flat minor? So think of it as B minor, A minor, and E minor. And with that, you want to come up with a couple of places for you to kind of work on ideas. Now, there's a couple of ways you could obviously look at this. You could either look at it as playing the individual scales for each chord you're given. So B minor, A minor, and E minor. But what you want to do, I've kind of gone ahead of myself there. So you could look at it that way, couldn't you? You could kind of come up with a solo that just plays around with those three different scale shapes. Like that. But what you're going to find is no matter how much you try and change guitar scales for each chord, you're probably going to stay within the same shape, because these three chords and the scales that accompany these three chords, B minor, A minor and E minor, share a lot of mutual notes, therefore are going to share a lot of mutual shapes. So for instance, if you play B minor pentatonic position 1 for the B minor chord, move down 2 frets for the A minor pentatonic, and then kind of move back up 2 frets to get into E minor pentatonic position 4 territory. It's better. There's a lot of mutual notes and a lot of crossover there. So you want to really think of ways you can target the root notes of each of those shapes to bring out the idea kind of within the same scale shape. So really you could kind of stick to, in like your first go through this guitar solo, the first 4 bars, you could kind of play around in position 1, move down into that A minor shape, and if I go down in that shape, I'm just now in the bottom of position 3 pentatonic, like that. So when I play that, you can actually hear those chord changes in there. You can hear those chords within my playing there, because I'm really emphasising the root notes: B, A, E, and getting that sort of, that almost jazz-like transition. I'm not just blindly soloing in each of the scales. Sort of thing. I'm getting the sound of B minor, A minor, E. So get them to kind of solo in the position 1 B minor pentatonic, position 1 A minor pentatonic, and then position 4 or position 3 E minor pentatonic. So bearing in mind again, position 3 E minor pentatonic, and position 4 E minor pentatonic. But because they're so close, you can just use the pair of them really. kind of synced in together. Like that. So and both of those scales are buried right within each of the other ones we just talked about. Your position 4 E minor pentatonic is buried within the B minor pentatonic scale, and your position 3 E minor pentatonic is buried within the A minor scale. So you could really play advantage with that idea. But then the second time you go around, of course, you could up the ante a little bit and maybe include some higher positions. So what I would do is I'd actually go for using the position 4. Sorry, the what's it called? Position. Yeah, position. Sorry. Hang on. Whereabouts am I? I'm just trying to think of the best way to do this. Yeah. Position 3 or position 4 B minor pentatonic and 4. Position 4 A minor pentatonic and position 1 E minor pentatonic. So, you can get some good results, similar to what we were talking about a minute ago, using the root notes there. Again, just kind of targeting root notes in my playing there will really open up the doors to the sound of the harmony going on. You don't want to just blindly use scales too much. You want to, like I keep saying, emphasise that chord you're playing over. You're playing over a B minor chord, therefore your B minor pentatonic scale shape should emphasise a degree of B minorness to it. Because, I mean, if you just play over B minor and just play the scale without any real sort of sense, you don't get anything from that. Whereas you get, with a bit more emphasis on B, you get much more of a convincing sound with your harmony. In terms of the actual kind of techniques and stuff that I'm using, all very scalic, like we talked about. All very lots of hammer-ons and pull-offs, like we've kind of been briefed on. Sorry, let me start again. I've got, if you want, basically I've been playing guitar much a lot recently because I've actually got quite a bad RSI from a repetitive strain injury from a which was really badly worsened by a car accident I had 2 years ago, nearly. And the problem is, of course, I can't really rest it because I need to play guitar. So I'm kind of making it worse. So I've been trying to lay off playing guitar as much as I can. So I'm really rusty at the moment. Hence the kind of fluffing about. But yeah, sorry. So as we where we were then, yeah. So all the hammer-ons and pull-offs, right? Very prominent in there. Hammer-ons and pull-offs. Bends. All very prominent techniques, kind of classic, going back to your sort of guitar roots with your playing there. Let's move on. Let's go to our next part. So section C, we've got some more ideas that are here, but they're very similar to what we've already looked at. Sorry. Sorry. Then we've got, that's it. Then and then oh, tricky one there. Like that. So again, this is very Hendrix, isn't it? It's very much chord leading line to another chord. And the idea there is basically you've got C and G. Sorry. But you've got a voice leading on top. But disguised amongst the chords. Sounds like that. Again, that one there, just jump into your chord shape every time. If you're in doubt, jump into your chord shape. So F here. I don't mean the full F major chord, like bar chord. I kind of mean like the C-shaped one. 3, 3, 2, 1. Like that, but of course we've got some zeros. That there. And then this one here, be careful with this hammer on. Just jump into a smaller shape, third, middle and first finger. And then notice we've got kind of like raking, just like pick throughs here. They're not here. They're back here, and they've gone again. So draw attention to that. Then you go up into like a C, the top of a position 1 C major chord here, like a C. Kind of like a C triad with another C on top. Into the top of a G position 3 chord. Then, and that one there is probably the most confusing of the lot, because you've got an F, self-explanatory F, F major position 3 chord there. But then you've got this very awkward note on the top there, B, which doesn't really go over an F. We listen to F and B together. Tritone, which is obviously a sort of a hellish kind of sound, isn't it? So we don't really want those two to go together. But there's something quite nice about it when you get to that part. Very classical music almost. But then you've got this E minor chord here, which is actually from a position 3 E minor chord. So that's where that comes from there. Third, middle, little finger, first finger to play that E minor chord. Then you've got this, which is a bit confusing to start with. But it's actually quite self-explanatory. Just hammer on in the middle on that G string there with your third finger to take you to this. And then you've got this one here, which is actually quite confusing at first when you look at that. But if you bowl across those fives, 5, 5, 5, and then have that there with these other fingers on, then it makes this hammer on a bit easier. Like that. And then you have, then you go into this bit. Now, with this scalic run you've got there, there's the way that you're meant to properly fret that, of course. Would be to use the 1 finger per fret system as per playing the scale shape. It's actually a C major, isn't it? So you would go middle finger to start there, middle, first, middle, little finger, third, little finger, middle finger, like that. Kind of 1 finger per fret. So anything on the 2nd fret is your first finger, 3rd fret is your middle finger, 4th fret is your 3rd finger, 5th fret is your little finger. Anything with that meets those frets, you're just going to use each of those fingers. But it's up to you. You could play that any way you want. the other way that I play that, the sort of almost, let's call it kind of the informal way to play this, would be to go first, 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 third, middle, third, first, like that. Versus middle, middle, first, middle, little, third, little, middle. The reason that I might use the other way is because it's a bit easier to manage when you get to the chord change, because you're now finishing this melody with your first finger on the B string and your third finger on that D string up there, which is actually the strings you need those fingers to be on when you play this next bit. So have that in your back of your mind when you're kind of telling your student the different ways to play something. And I always like to do this with my students. Always make them aware of the different ways that something can be done. You know, that always, even if you think it's something silly, like even if it was just like something like that, I think that's quite silly really to pick up on that, because you would just think, well, I'll use the proper, you know, 4 finger per fret system. But always question the tab and see if there's ways that you can play something differently. You'll kind of get your student thinking. It's a good way to get them thinking, because it is often difficult to engage a student, especially newer students, because they haven't got that mentality of achievement yet, and it's sort of the desire to maybe work towards the goal of achieving, even if there's no gig or there's no exam, just the idea of achieving the the achievement of being able to play a piece of music from start to finish perfectly, starting well, finishing well. So by doing things like getting them to see if there's other ways to play stuff, you're getting them to think on their toes and getting them to kind of engage in a way which isn't saying, right, can you tell me how 16th notes work? And they're going to go, I can't remember, sort of thing. So if you get them to think in this way, which involves them playing and working things out and sitting there going, nope, that's wrong, nope, that doesn't work either, it gets them thinking a lot about the guitar, and you'll be surprised how quickly time goes when they're doing that, and how quickly they start to offer their own suggestions of the ways to play stuff as well. So a good idea is to get them thinking and questioning the tab and the ways to play something. The last thing you hear is just this again. No drag through this time. I'm just playing it. For rest. Very similar to what's it called? Funkometer. Finishing with a note tied to a minim, or 2-beat note there, which you hold, and then that's it. And then you just got to make sure you finish on that one. Sorry. 3, 4, 1, like that. So that's just a recurrence of the beginning theme. So the thing you need to do here is you need to make sure that I'd say I've just spotted something actually. Just spotted this cheeky rest that's accidentally crept in here, isn't it? Look. Of course, you can't be resting and playing at the same time. So just trying to look back there and see if it was anything that had been let him ring. And no, I think it's just accidental rest. Ignore that there. But I think the key is to go through this piece, listen to it a lot with your student, really get them to remember it almost as like a vocal melody. You know, can they sing these parts? Blah, blah, na, na, blah, na, na, na. It's more about the rhythm, the thing that will trip you up. When you look at all these rhythms, look how much that is there. Grade 4, look how confusing all of this is. Very overwhelming. So what you want to do is you really want to get them to remember it and memorise it, like they remember one of their favourite songs or something really simple, you know, on like a melody. So getting them to memorise it, like I said, will make all of this less daunting. And what it will do is it will go, okay, you was going bum, ba-na-na-na, and that rhythm you're singing there is just going 1, 2, and R, you're doing a 16th note triplet. So that's what that sounds like. So what you're doing is you're actually subliminally teaching them all the different types of rhythms by getting them to work on their own to remember this. And it just means that you don't spend so much time deciphering the code of the rhythm if you get them to listen to it in advance. Like I said, a healthy balance of listening and a healthy balance of sight reading always goes a long way towards progress. Just be careful of all the little techniques they throw in there. Look for dynamic markers, mezzo piano, nice and chilled out. just check the chord shape above the tab, making sure that they're aware of what chord shape they're meant to be playing over, and also just get them to really acknowledge when these brush strokes through the tab are. Sorry. Just get them to really see where they are, because there's going to be times where they disappear as well. Like we looked at after the guitar solo here, yeah. So when you got 4, now there's no drags. Important there, to pick out those things. Just picking out your techniques will give you the upper hand. And like I said in one of the other videos as well, get these things in early. Don't let give them a second to work stuff out and to get it wrong, but don't let them get away with playing these things in their own way more than a couple of times, because it will just become a habit that you can't get them out of. So get right in there straight away and police them on anything they're doing that's wrong, even if it's a tiny thing, and make them understand the one golden rule is that the tab trumps all. You know, the tab is what matters. The tab is what the examiners are looking for. They want the accuracy of the tab. You know, when you go and play guitar in the real world, yeah, I mean, if you're playing guitar for like, I don't know, like Rihanna or someone, you're gonna be under a fair bit of scrutiny there. But when you're playing your own songs, or you're playing covers, or you're just playing, there's not going to be people policing you against the tab. But in this setting, there is going to be people policing you against the tab. That's the test, isn't it? It's to see, can you play. Basically, what they're after is, can you read music? It's really it, isn't it? Because we've given you the tab here, and from the tab, can you do exactly what it says without even listening to it? But of course, we want to use the audio because it's there as well. But effectively, whatever's written down is exactly what you should be playing. So just get them to really understand that importance there. Amp settings, again, this is actually kind of what I was talking about in my last video when I talked about Funkometer. This is the kind of setting that I'd go to. So I've got my channel set up here. If you wonder what amp I've got a new amp, by the way. I've got an orange Dual Dark 100 head, which is a bit of an absolute insane metal head, but it cleans up really nicely. 100 watt head. But yeah, I've got it on this, on my Telecaster Bridge neck pickup. This is the highest I've got it, kind of game wise. So that means when you launch into that solo, you've got a really roaring tone. But most of the time, dialing back to about 6. Crunchy sort of sound, maybe even a bit more, about 5. And then you're into that sound there. So, you know, you've got a real boost in your volume again there. The Rock School recording uses a phaser effect with the rate and width set to produce a fairly slow sweep through the whole thing. Optional, but you may use this effect if you wish. I wouldn't bother that. Could kind of complicate things. Make them aware of it. Maybe watch some demo videos for a what's it called, for a phaser. But don't worry about that unless I've got like a multi-effect sound or anything where like a floor, like a Boss ME something 50 or a GT10 or whatever, like where you can program in a patch fairly quickly. Then yeah, fair enough. But I wouldn't really bother with that. Have a look through this as well. Just check, see what Rock School make of each of the bars there, and just see and really explain these things as you go. And just like in the other video, just keep an eye on those techniques, and then you won't get caught out by anything. And I think it's, yeah, like I said, with this one, give this one and Funkometer as well. Give these ones that are a bit tricky a fair old listen first. Even you as a teacher. The thing that I always make sure that I do is come to my students' lessons fully prepared with, well, I say that, with the audio. Well, I'm playing guitar much recently, so you might have to excuse me, but I always come to the students' lessons as prepared as I can. If I've read something in advance that we're doing that looks a bit like this, I will give it a few listens first, so that I can fully be aware of the things we've got coming up. But you know, it just we always forget how much our students are going by your own guidance as a teacher. So they're not going to really be able to separate all the beats of this piece when you look at them, 1 and a 2 and 3, 4 and a 1, and you know, they're not going to be able to really distinguish that rhythm straight away. So it's important that you help them to do that by kind of getting them to get playing it as quickly as they can. And like I said, if you use a bit of a bit of reading and a bit of listening, you'll get inside this piece much quicker. I hope that answers all your questions about this piece as well. Like I said, if there's anything I've missed out or anything else you want to discuss with this piece or the others that we've looked at, please do let me know, and I'll be straight back with answers or even any extra supplementary video content if you need to. Cheers, Dom, and I'll see you in the next video if you have any more. Thank you.